Hi, my name is Rod Khleif, and I'm the host of the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. And every week I interview multifamily rock stars, and we talk about how they've built incredible wealth for themselves and their families through multifamily properties. So hit the like and subscribe buttons to get notified every Monday when a new episode comes out. Let's get to it. Welcome to another edition of Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Rod Khleif, and I am thrilled you're here. And I'm very excited about today's interview. Just a wonderful guy that I met at I think it was IMN Mid-Market Conference not that long ago. His name's Clive Davis, and Clive has got this fascinating background. I'm not even going to try to give it any energy. I'm going to let him tell you, but he's in over 2,000 doors in multifamily. He's also got 300 hotel keys, which is interesting. That'll be a first on this show. We've never talked about hotels, and just a lot of accreditation and incredible background. Clive, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me, Rod.
Yeah, let's have some fun today. I'm really excited about this. So why don't you I started reading your bio and I'm like, holy cow, you're a member of the bar in more than one place, and you've just done all sorts of things all over the world. So I'd love to hear it from you.
Yeah, so I'll give you a little bit of personal background to start. So I'm the youngest of 6 kids born to Jamaican parents who migrated from Jamaica to England, London specifically, which is where I was born.
Oh, wow.
So I grew up in the UK right until I broke into my teens, and then we relocated to the US in pursuit of the American dream.
How old were you when that happened?
13, just
Okay,
getting ready to
gotcha.
turn 14. Moved to Bradley Beach, New Jersey on the Jersey Shore.
Wow.
So quite a cultural contrast.
You didn't get the accent, though. That's good.
I had a strong one when I got here,
Oh.
and the girls loved it. The boys, not so much. And so I made a concerted effort to kind of get rid of that as soon as possible. So it's interesting.
You're talking about the British accent?
The British accent.
Oh, gotcha,
Yes,
gotcha.
yes. It's funny when I go back.
I was thinking New Jersey when I said that, but I wasn't even thinking British, of course. Yeah, the girls love those.
Yeah. So when I go back, it's funny because the English accent comes out
Picks
a little
right
bit
back,
when I'm
yeah.
around family and friends and what have you. But yeah. So that's how we made the transition to the U.S. My mom basically left me when I was 8
Oh, wow.
to come to the U.S., which is, she had always had her eye on America's where we can really make things happen. And so I was raised by my father for 8 until 13, while my mother was in the U.S. working, doing all kinds of jobs, caring for elderly, cleaning houses, what have you. And then she eventually brought the rest of the family over in 1984.
I'm sorry to keep interrupting,
Yeah.
but I just want to ask something. Was she like the power in your upbringing? Was she the force of nature in your upbringing? I'm just curious if the impact that she had, because she sounds like a pretty dynamic lady.
She definitely was a dynamic lady and was an ambitious lady despite very humble beginnings. So my mom, at best, probably had a 4th or 5th grade education.
Wow.
Working from the age of 14, 15, and just knew something was better out there and just wasn't.
She's still with us?
She's not. She
Oh.
actually passed in 2017.
I see. Sorry.
I
lost mine last year, actually. And the reason I ask is
yeah.
mine is very similar. Very, very similar. That's, so.
Yeah. So again, we followed her in pursuit of the American dream,
Right.
and in many respects, my story is kind of the fulfillment of what she was pursuing.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And
Wow.
So got started in New Jersey. Most of my time in the U.S., New Jersey is the closest thing to a home state for me.
Right.
Went to school there, undergrad there, went on to go to grad school and law school
Right.
later on in life. So started out as a lawyer. Out of law school.
What practice area, just out of curiosity?
So I was a corporate transactional lawyer, Wall Street firm.
Like mergers and stuff, or more real estate, or what was it?
So I did a little bit of, in that first year or so, we kind of rotated through different areas. So I did probably 6 months of M&A. I did 6 months
That's
of
mergers and acquisitions, if you don't know what that is. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. 6 months of general banking. I did a 6-month stint in real estate. And then ultimately I assigned to capital markets. So I was a capital markets attorney, securities attorney, doing debt and equity offerings.
What a fantastic framework for this business. Holy cow. I mean, that just like laid the groundwork for what you're doing now. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, just as an aside, I actually, when I lost everything in 2008 and 9, I lost $50 million then in that crash. And what I did to pull myself out of that was actually start a litigation support company. And I actually built law firms in 5 states, including New Jersey. And we stopped foreclosures. I helped thousands of families save their homes.
Yeah.
But so I know quite a bit about the business. The reason I bring that up. Please continue. I apologize.
Yeah. So I rotated through those different areas,
Yeah.
and then ultimately assigned to capital markets. Had no idea what I would go on to do in the connection. But it was really my kind of grounding in my professional kind of start, if you will. And I did that for several years. Very quickly, I knew that was not the life that I wanted to live.
Corporate attorney, yeah.
So surrounded by successful people.
And this was in Jersey?
This was actually New York. I'm in New York City now.
Oh, wow.
Graduated law school. I'm a junior associate at the bottom of the totem pole.
Sure.
Putting in the hours,
Wow.
70, 80 hours. Well compensated, but my time is not my own.
But you didn't have a life.
Didn't have a life.
Right.
I could go in, I could get to Thursday and then get a call that says you've got to be in DC in a room without a view, doing due diligence if I was doing my M&A rotation. And that was the life. But you're young, you're in New York City, you kind of know what comes with the territory, and you've got to put in your time in order to kind of move on to do something else. And so I put in my time.
That ascension to partner, right?
But I knew very early that was not my goal. I mean, I looked around and I saw, again, very successful people who'd be in at 7 a.m. first in, they'd be, out at 7 or 8 p.m. and then they would just rinse and repeat and do that over. But I saw folks who were on marriage number 2, marriage number 3, didn't necessarily have the life that I thought, if you're wealthy and you've got things going on, you have a freedom.
Right.
And I just didn't see that in the partners that I was surrounded by. And so I knew, okay, this is a good kind of learning environment, but it's not something that I want to be doing.
What was the catalyst that got you to switch or to change?
So the first switch was, okay, I've got to take more control over my time. And so that first transition was going from Wall Street law firm to in-house counsel with a company.
With a company,
so
much
Pfizer.
easier. Yeah. Oh, you went to Pfizer.
I joined Pfizer.
Oh man, that's the dark side, brother, as far as I'm concerned. But okay.
Well, I got mixed.
We won't go down that political rabbit hole, but okay.
Well, we can certainly thank them for some of their recent contributions.
Okay.
But in any event, I joined Pfizer, which was a step back in terms of compensation, but a step forward in terms of the greater control that I had over my life. So it was a great experience. I had opportunity to travel. And
how long were you there?
I was with Pfizer for 4 years in New York, and then they actually relocated me to Atlanta to support their Southeast business. So when they relocated me, I was supporting the Southeast business, which was comprised of their sales leadership team and then like 1,500 sales reps underneath them. And so if there was a legal or compliance related question that came up, they just said,
so
go
all the
ask
salespeople
Clive.
are out there knocking on doctors' doors and
Exactly.
pushing. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. And we're trying to
And
keep
you were
them
there
out
how
of
long?
harm's way. I was
In
with
Atlanta?
Pfizer for a total of 6 years, 2 years in Atlanta,
Gotcha, in foreign.
left Pfizer, and then became a chief compliance officer for a Belgian pharma company that has its U.S. headquarters in Atlanta.
Interesting. So when was the start of your illustrious real estate career?
So the start of my real estate, well, depends how far back you want to go. So
I mean, you told me about the duplex you bought in '99 here in Cape Coral. So by the way, guys, we're in Sarasota, Florida. He was kind enough to come here to our studio, and he's got his got family in Cape Coral, and you got a duplex there, which I'm sure has gone through the moon as far as value and rents and everything else. But as I told you, I used to have 160 houses down there. It's woulda, coulda, shoulda. But anyway, so start with the more commercial side. Yeah.
Yeah, so fast forward, 20-year corporate career. At the end of 2016, I decided 20 years was enough, and if not now, when?
And you were married at that time?
Married at that time, 4 kids. My oldest was probably 7-8 months away from heading off to college. So this was going to be the first one leaving the house. Again, I put in 20 years, well compensated, but really was at a point where I said, if not now, when? And the question I was trying to answer was, you've always had this interest in real estate. You had a flirtation with being an entrepreneur without really knowing what that is. At that point, I'm in my mid-40s, and I'm like, look, it only gets harder the longer I stay. So if I don't give this a shot now, when am I going to do it?
Did you quit cold turkey, or did you start doing it on the side?
Cold turkey.
Wow.
Cold turkey.
I tell people never to do that, but you probably had a cushion at that point. You've been in corporate America that long. You had money in the bank and so on and so forth. Probably had some passive investments and so on.
Yeah.
But okay. Yeah, because I tell people don't do that. They say, should I quit my job and do this? I'm like, no, unless you've got your situation, because fear paralyzes. And if you don't have money coming in, then, you're paralyzed, and then you're really screwed. So interesting. Wow.
And I wouldn't necessarily recommend the route that I took, because in hindsight, I could have been doing a lot more in the years leading up to that to make the transition smoother.
Sure.
But I was in a good position.
Was there an epiphany, or was there like a catalyst, or was it just like, I'm done? I'm just curious.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about my mom. So really, my mom, again, was in Cape Coral. I was seeing her maybe once or twice a year, to be honest. So my parents had retired in 96. I was helping them out. That duplex that we talked about, the reason I got into that duplex was basically to help them in their retirement. So I bought the duplex in Cape Coral, which is where they had retired to. I opened up a checking account. I put both their names on it. Oh. I had the rents going into that checking account.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I didn't need to touch it. Fortunately, I was in a good position. And so
that's beautiful.
When hot water heater went, the pump on the pool, whatever, I was like, just go get it from your account. You don't need to ask me. And so that's how we ran that play turned out to be, I sold that duplex in 2018.
Oh, I see.
So 2 years into having left corporate, and I'm making this transition to commercial. I'm now drawing on that very duplex because I sold it. That netted me some proceeds that enabled me to sustain myself while I was looking to make this transition to commercial.
It's interesting. We've got some parallels. I bought my folks a house in Port Charlotte. If you know where that is, that's just north of Cape Coral, on a canal, and bought them a car. And there's no greater joy than the ability to do something like that for your parents. I took them on cruises and so those of you listening, when you do your goals with me, one of the things I have you do is write down what you want to do for other people, because we'll do more for others than we'll ever do for ourselves, right? So, use that as the fuel to go kick ass and make things happen. So what was your first commercial real estate deal, Khleif?
So fast forward, I'm on this journey, immersing myself, educating myself, listening to podcasts, going to conferences. First, one thing I tell people is I'm not an overnight success, because from the first LOI, letter of intent, I submitted in 2019, didn't get that one. I was a runner-up. Someone wanted to pay $300K more than we did. I said, okay, I'll get one next month or the month after. So fast forward, I didn't land my first deal until summer of 21.
So 19 LOI, 21 is your first deal.
Absolutely.
Wow. Why do you think there was such a long gap? Were you being conservative? Were you being too conservative, possibly? And that's a big deal. That's a very common dynamic.
So in hindsight, I think I was being too conservative in my underwriting.
Right.
I was probably putting too much cushion in and therefore not being competitive.
Right.
And at that time, as you know, very competitive time in the multifamily space. And so
probably the most competitive we've seen.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I'm sorry to interrupt. Another quick question. Had you aligned with someone? Had you gotten on a team? Had you put a team together? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I had primarily one prospective partner who we had hit it off, and he had done a few deals, and he had said, you're in Atlanta, I've got deals in DFW and in Florida, but, we don't have anything in Atlanta, great market. If you land something there, provided I'm not tied up or occupied with something else that's on the same track, I'll partner with you if you'll have me. And so we hit it off. And so we were underwriting. I was sharing, different deals,
with
different
him,
opportunities
right?
with him.
Pre-underwrite him, send him to him.
Yep.
But you were also able to lean on his experience, right? With your communications with brokers and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You realize very quickly that it's a team sport. And
Yeah.
so I call brokers the gatekeepers to these deals, these
Right.
sizable multifamily deals. And so you've got to kind of leverage or borrow the credibility of
someone
anyone
else.
who's
That's
part
how
of your
everybody
team.
starts. That's
Yep.
how everybody starts. And, I tell people as well, it's a team sport, but, when you're first starting out, you need to align with some people that have done it, which is why my Warrior program is so freaking successful. If you haven't heard me, I'm sure you have. I mean, there are upwards of 170 to 180,000 units that they own now, and most done between Warriors. And I've only been teaching 5 years, so I'm super proud of that. But that's how it's done. You align with somebody that's done it. You use the we word, and we own 500 doors. We own 1,000 doors. And that's how you take down your first one or two. And now, obviously, you can do it yourself now.
Yep.
But, and by the way, the other thing, and I'm sorry to keep interrupting.
Still a team.
No, obviously a team. Yeah,
Yep.
you put a team together. You're right. And if you can stay on the same team, that's fantastic. The thing I would say is date before you get married. See how well you work together. Check the work ethic. See, how well aligned you are. See if the integrity is where you want it to be. You have the same core, maybe same core values. But the other thing I want to mention is you talked about 2019 to 2021 for that first deal, and I see it with my students all the time.
Yeah.
It's that first deal takes the longest, it's the hardest, it's the most stressful, and then they get one. Next thing I know, they have three. I'm like, what just happened? Was that a dynamic for you? Because you're in 2000 now, so you've certainly done a lot since then.
It absolutely was.
Yeah.
So after knocking on the door for 2 years, I got that first deal awarded summer of 21. We ended up closing that 3 months later. The week that we closed that deal, I got a call from Cushman & Wakefield saying, congratulations, you've been awarded this 200 unit, $40 million
A second
deal.
one.
4.5 miles away from the first one.
Oh, beautiful.
So again,
How big was the first one?
first deal, 244 units, just about 30 million, and we raised $8.25 million for that.
So
one.
you and this new partner that you'd found raised
Plus
the money.
two others.
Plus two others. You
Yeah.
brought in some co-GPs to help you raise the money.
Yes.
Fantastic. Wow.
Yeah.
240 on your first deal. Boom.
Yep.
Love it. And then you got awarded a second one almost immediately.
Second one that we ended up closing literally 3 months after
Wow.
that. And
Now,
Yeah,
did this
yeah.
partner already have a stable of investors that he was able to lean on? Was he the major push for the initial investors, or were you guys totally beating the bushes? And
so
whatnot?
between the four of us, we ended up, all of us had a responsibility of reaching out to our respective networks.
Well, you already had a big network as well from your 20 years in corporate. I'm sure you knew people with money.
Yes, but untested. And
Right.
so,
Oh, yeah.
So you really don't know when people say, yeah, I can raise X, and they've never done it before. You've got to discount that.
Oh, yeah. I can't tell you. We had a couple of people raising money for my latest deal in Nashville. It's been, 8 months. But yeah, people said, oh, yeah, we'll bring in $1 million. We're at 200,000. 2 million, we're at 400,000.
Yep.
And like, oh, good God. And
Yeah.
then we got to scramble to get everything together. But by the way, guys, those of you listening, you cannot just raise money on a deal. You actually have to be involved. Do the due diligence. Be on the asset management calls. You cannot just be a money raiser unless you've got a. And we're going to talk about that. Actually, I'm doing a class on that this afternoon. But anyway, please continue. I apologize. Yeah.
Yeah, so we get deal number 2, literally right on the heels of the first one. So
That's awesome.
all of that work over 2 years is now starting to pay off, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing, okay, I'm getting traction now. And once you get that first one, you leverage that, you get the second one, and now you're credible in that market. And I was focused at that time, and still very much today, primarily on the Atlanta metro. And so you start building up a reputation. And
Brokers start taking you seriously, and
Yes.
so on and so forth, right?
Yes. So I'll share a funny story with you. So I got awarded that first deal. It was a Friday. I happened to be in Dallas at the time. I flew home to Atlanta. On Monday, I got a call from a broker I won't mention the firm. And he said, "Hey, Clive, congratulations. I heard you landed XYZ deal." And I'm like, well, how does he know? Because it's not with that brokerage firm.
Right.
I had been talking to their lending arm on some other opportunities.
Everybody talks to everybody.
It's a very
small world. Guys, listen, I want you to hear what he just said. Very small world, which is why you don't screw people around, because everybody talks to everybody.
Yes.
Don't be the person that retrades or renegotiates every deal or says they're going to do something and doesn't do it. So, yeah.
So he says, again, congratulations. I've got a couple deals. We don't have an offering memo yet, but we have a BOV, a broker opinion of value. If you're interested, I'll send over the confidentiality agreement, sign it, take a look, let me know what you think. This is a broker that I've been knocking on his door for 2 years. I'd never been sent anything that was off market, and I'm sure he was sending it to me and 23 of his other closest friends.
Right.
But nonetheless, it wasn't a public deal yet. He shares it with me, and this is literally on the weekend I just got awarded my first deal that he's heard about.
Wow.
So right there, before I've even closed the first deal, all he knows is I've been awarded a deal. And now the conversation with him is a little bit different than it's been in the year or two prior when I was nobody.
Yeah, as soon as you close, or I'm surprised that he didn't wait till you close, but typically you close and then the floodgates open. But I will say this, you tell me if I'm wrong. In the last 6 months, I've gotten more broker communication than I've gotten the last 5 years.
Yes.
Same for you? Absolutely. I mean, this market is the last time I checked is 75% year over year decline in sales. So please continue if you've got more on your history here.
Yeah. So now I'm in the game.
Yeah.
I started out before I even landed that first deal. I was investing passively pretty heavily, and I'd moved my retirement funds from Pfizer and UCB where I was, moved all of that out of the stock market and started investing in commercial real estate. And that's where the hotels, the 300 plus keys.
Oh, no kidding.
Came in. It was a passive investment.
How's that turned out with all the craziness in that environment?
Well, portfolio of 3 Fairfield Inn suites, all of them within 25 minutes of me, and I love that I could drive by and I could stay there if I wanted to, in town getaway. They got crushed during COVID. They went down to skeletal crews.
Did they
15%.
survive?
They survived, and they're coming back strong now.
Right.
But it will probably be next year before they return to pre-COVID kind of revenue levels.
Sure.
So, they kind of...
So the return stopped, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. They stopped.
Yeah.
And, there was capital calls in there in the mix.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
No fun. That's no fun. I will tell you something. What if you don't know what a capital call is, guys, it's when, let's say you invest passively in a deal and the operator knows they need help. And there's going to be a punchline here in just a second, but so they'll reach out to all their passive investors and say, hey, we need $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, and we need help to do that so that we can refinance or get through this hurdle. And of course, if you don't pony up, you could lose everything. And so it's kind of a carrot and a stick. But I will add something here. I know a really big attorney in Dallas that has a very large SEC practice and owns thousands and thousands of units himself. And he said right now, just about half of his business is capital calls, forbearances, and foreclosures. Wow. So that train is headed off the track here. I don't know how you feel about that. I will tell you, the reason I was at IMN was I was being proactive for my warriors to see if any of them needed rescue capital, which of course is like the 11th hour. You lose everything except your reputation stuff. Yeah. But I found 5 people there that had, said they were interested in rescue capital just in case any of my students needed it. Luckily, I've only got one that's struggling right now that did a capital call. But, you saw that. You saw what happened in Houston with that Wall Street Journal article, a competitor of mine's student. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, and I know the individuals in that mix.
Wow.
My thoughts about it and that particular situation is someone got over their skis. They grew too fast without paying attention to the business
to the
infrastructure,
operations, to the asset.
the operations, the asset management, and so when you're looking at success, you got to look at it holistically. And I think,
I heard there was a nefarious component to it as well. The guy did like capital calls and ran off with some money to India. So I don't know if that's true or not, but that's kind of the scuttlebutt that I got about that.
At the end of the day, from my standpoint,
it's a black eye. That's the problem for the industry. That's the problem.
Absolutely. And, I feel for the folks who are in that deal, and not only that deal, but other deals. And so, it's not going to be the last.
No, I don't know if you saw the recent stuff on I was on Real Page, I think it was on, about these, Nydia, these big ones that are
I saw that.
Yeah.
So,
and, I think there's going to be a reckoning here. Now, I look at it as opportunity. I got crushed in 2008 and 9 by the wave. I'm surfing this one. Okay, so I have access to cash. I'm in a lot of cash, and I don't. It's gonna suck, for lack of a better word, for these people that have it happen. But I had it happen to me, and I recovered. Yeah. So they can recover as well. But I'm hoping that there'll be some exponential opportunity to buy some assets. So I actually set up an opportunity fund myself. I don't know if you're doing anything like that, but.
I haven't gone that far, but I'm definitely keeping my eyes and ears open for opportunities. I think it's kind of a natural and perhaps healthy shakeout after probably a 12-year...
After irrational exuberance?
Yes.
Yeah.
12-year plus great run.
Right.
And I think, us taking a breather is probably a good thing.
Oh, it is.
I don't think it's going to be anywhere near what it was in 2008.
8 and 9, no, but it not necessarily residential, but in commercial. I mean, I've got a Forbes issue here that shows office occupancy.
Yeah.
My God, it's like in the low 70s.
Yeah.
Excuse me, in the low 70s in like the 6 major cities.
Yeah.
Those assets don't break even unless they're in the late 88%. And so, and then of course there's 1.6 trillion in commercial debt coming due by the end of next year. Yep. And if you either have to sell, which is way down, or you have to refinance, which is very challenging, as you know. Yep. Are you in any bridge debt now, or are you good?
Yeah, no, a couple of our deals we did do via bridge.
How are they faring?
We've got time on them.
Oh, you do?
But
Good.
We are looking at all of the options that are at our disposal, including refi.
Right.
And so... it's a matter of looking at the numbers and making sense of that for each particular asset.
Yeah, the problem is, not just the fact that, you can refinance, but it's going to be bridge because you're not going to, Fannie and Freddie, I'm looking at a deal at 50% loan to value right now, the only way it makes sense. And so you're going to likely have to fund to get to a debt service coverage ratio that you can live with, and then you've got that rate cap. I mean, I read an article that $100 million rate cap in 2020 for 3 years, 3% was $23,000.
Yeah.
That same rate cap right now for 1 year, for you couldn't get 3 years, is $2.3 million. Now this was actually four months ago or so. So so there are challenges. I've got some bridge debt too. I mean, there are challenges, and we've got to just work through them. I'm hoping that the Fed starts to believe that inflation has been tempered, whether it has or not, and starts to adjust the rates back down. So
they paused, but we're looking at another potential.
Oh no, it's coming. There's another one. There's another one
points.
coming for sure. I mean, they pretty much all but indicated that they were going to continue to raise for a while. I just hope next year that tempers off. But I will tell you, I've been in the business a long time. I started in 1978, and at that time the rates were 18%.
Yeah.
And I remember doing backflips when they were what they are today. Okay, 7-8%.
That's good context.
Yeah. So give it some context, but it's no fun. I will tell you, those deals are no fun right now. And that bridge debt. But for those of you that are brand new, have never heard what that is. That's basically the hard money lender equivalent from the single family space. It's adjustable rate. It's fairly onerous. You need to buy rate caps, although there were some that didn't require them. I don't know if you remember that. There were some you didn't even have to get a rate cap. Can you imagine what's happening with those? Good God, I'm sure they're done.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So from a risk management standpoint, and if you're a passive investor looking at those opportunities 1, 2, 3 years ago, that's got to be one of the questions you're asking. Well, because it wasn't. Everyone knew interest rates were going to go up. We didn't know that they were going to go up at the rate and speed that they did.
Right. Now, we all pro forma'd some adjustments,
yes,
but not to the extent that they went, which was unheard of.
Yeah. But flying without any kind of safety net which is what you were doing if you didn't put in place a cap.
A lot of people didn't have one. But even let's forget rate cap. A lot of these guys, I'd look at these pro formas, these offering memorandums, and I'm like, where's the operating reserves? Oh, we're going to get that from cash flow. I'm like, yeah, no. I mean, we do a minimum 6 months of expenses at operating reserves, and even we're stiffer than that now.
Yeah.
But just in case just in case what's happening now, it happens. So you've got 2,000 doors. Are they primarily in Atlanta? Are they all in Atlanta, or
all across the country?
Oh, they are, yeah. Wow. Okay.
Couple deals in Atlanta. We just closed 3 weeks ago a deal in Northwest Arkansas, which is the biggest deal I've been involved with.
I love Northwest Arkansas.
It's a phenomenal
I almost bought
market.
one in oh God, where was it? A little town, like a touristy town, right on the edge of the park. Oh God, I wish I could remember. I remember the name of the complex. I don't remember the name of the town, but it was a beautiful little town, like a tourist attraction. And my team didn't want to do it, and I'm kicking myself for listening to them at this point because it's just exploded. Some of my warriors ended up buying it, but
it's a phenomenal market. There was a Wall Street Journal article about probably 6 weeks plus ago talking about what's going on in Northwest Arkansas, and kind of it's just a phenomenal market. While I was there, I think it was described as, think of us, Northwest Arkansas, as Austin, Texas, but 15 years ago. If you know Austin, Texas today.
What town is your?
So this is specifically in Rogers, Arkansas, which is next door to Bentonville, which is home of Walmart.
Walmart,
Fortune 1.
Right.
And not only do you have Walmart there, you have J.B. Hunt Trucking Logistics.
Well, you have all the people that want to woo Walmart there as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, right,
absolutely. Basically, if you want to do business with Walmart, if you want to have stuff on their shelves, they highly encourage you to have a presence.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's what is driving what you're seeing there. So median household income within a mile of this property, $180,000.
No kidding.
So this is Arkansas.
Wow.
And so when I see half that in Atlanta, I'm celebrating. Wow, 90,000?
Right.
So
that's crazy.
It's a very unique
if you ever
market.
want to see something cool, go by the Bentonville airport and look at all the private jets. It's insane how many private jets are there.
Yes. And they've got a phenomenal museum, world-class museum, which is funded by the Walton family, Crystal Bridges Museum.
Wow.
Anyone has an opportunity, go check out that museum. It will rival anything you've seen around the world.
Very cool. And is this an aviation museum, or what is this?
No, it's art,
just a general museum.
Museum.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, so talk about, everybody thinks this success is just this easy path with no speed bumps. Talk about a failure in this journey of yours and maybe the lesson that you got from it. Now, we all have I call them seminars, numerous seminars, but talk about a doozy and if something comes to mind.
Yeah, so I don't know if this qualifies as a failure, but it's a recent experience that I'm still working through.
Okay.
Once you get into this business, it's a matter of time before you are going to have a fire on one of your properties. So not only did I, in late March, we had a fire that ended up taking out 12 units. I got a call.
In Atlanta?
In Atlanta.
Uh-huh.
I was actually down in Savannah, Georgia with my youngest son. He was
Savannah.
there for a gymnastics meet.
Mm-hmm.
I got a call around 9:30 from our property management company. So on a Friday, 9:30 p.m., you got a call from your property management company. It's probably not good news. And your first question is everyone okay?
Right, of course.
Were
they?
Yes.
Okay, good.
God bless.
Good.
No one harmed. Lo and behold, fire, we 12 units down, and you go into kind of, okay, how do we kind of
how long have you
get
owned the
through
asset?
this situation? So this is that first one that we bought back
long
in
time.
November of 21.
Okay, so you've owned it a long time.
Yeah, we've owned it for a little bit. And 3 weeks later, I'm going into a meeting. It's 9:30 in the morning. I get a call from the property management company. Clive, you're not going to believe this.
Another one.
Another fire.
Oh my God.
Takes out 6 units, different building on the property, totally unrelated. This time it's a HVAC subcontractor who's on property, soldering something, puts the pipe back in behind the drywall, doesn't
That's
take all of the precautions
that is going to make
that
your
need
life
to.
hell with the insurance company, because they're going to. Have you gotten a public adjuster yet?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
We're well down that path.
Okay.
Public adjuster. I can't imagine how you navigate that.
By the way,
without one.
those of you listening, if you ever have a large insurance claim, you've got to use a public adjuster. I've got a fantastic. Just to commiserate with you, how long has it been? 3 months? 4 months? 3 months? We had a 20-unit building completely destroyed by fire at my Nashville asset.
Wow.
And there was an injury. A woman had to jump out of a third-floor balcony, hurt her knees a little bit, but she's okay, thank God. But so I feel you. I mean, I'm in the midst of it right now. We're just negotiating the teardown on that place right now. But we had just bought it, so we had a bunch of vacancies because we were renovating, which doesn't look great when you're trying to do the rent negotiations with the insurance company. So we're going to be fighting it out. But wow, 2.
And
you're gonna struggle getting insurance for that baby. I'm gonna tell you.
So we're so these are the joys of asset management that don't necessarily get advertised when someone says, who's going to be the primary asset manager? So of the partners, I'm the only one in Atlanta.
Sure.
So I've got the boots on the ground. I've got the connections, and I'm the natural person to take the lead on that.
Of course.
So I've been working through those. I've been, we've had to retain legal counsel in connection with dialogue. No issue as to responsibility for coverage.
No, causation, and liability. Yeah. But I learned from the public adjuster that when you have a vendor like that, then it's going to be a fight between your insurance company and theirs, and it just delays things. That's the problem. It delays things.
Long timelines. Way longer than it needs to be, but that is the process, and you can't accelerate.
I'm sorry you're going through that. Well, we're literally in the soup of it right now. But always get a public adjuster is the point, guys. Always get a public adjuster if you have a large claim. In fact, down when Hurricane Charlie hit Port Charlotte, I had 360 damaged houses. Okay, and it was the biggest logistical nightmare I've ever had. I had 18 crews just evaluating the properties and then redoing them. And I had to sue the insurance company at that time, and oh, it's no fun. Yeah. And you get through it, and usually you come out a little ahead, believe it or not. Even with the public adjuster that takes a percent of the claim, you come out ahead. But it takes a year off your life is the problem.
It does.
Yeah.
But the public adjuster, well worth the investment.
Oh, yeah, every
You'd be
penny.
crazy to try and go one-to-one with the insurance company without their expertise.
Exactly.
That's what they do. That's 100% of what they do.
I did it here. You saw he couldn't come a couple days ago because they were re-roofing this building we're in at my compound, and I settled for just under $1 million here on roof and paint and all the interior damage and everything else from a hurricane.
This was Ian?
Ian, yeah. I like Ian because I needed a roof, and so, it worked out great for me. But of course, that's why insurance here is insane. What are you seeing with insurance in Atlanta on that note?
Atlanta is not as bad as the stories I've been hearing coming out of Florida.
Louisiana.
4 times.
Oh, 4 times, or even more. We were looking at an asset in Louisiana, beautiful, best income county parish they call it in the whole state, and the seller was paying $500 a year each per unit. They quoted us $3,000 a year. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? And that's killing a lot of. That's another catalyst.
You can't
potential
underwrite
catalyst.
for that.
Yeah, and that plus taxes, and you combine that with a bridge loan, that's a problem. Do you have assets in Texas?
I've passively invested there. I don't have any that I'm a GP on.
Because the insurance there has been, and taxes have been insane as well. We've got quite a few assets in Dallas and then in Houston and San Antonio. So listen, my listeners, I have listeners that are seasoned, and I have listeners that know they need to go do something. Yeah. And I hope if you're one of those that you get your butt to my boot camp in September in Orlando. But that said, what advice would you give somebody that's been thinking about this business, hasn't taken action yet, know they need to do something to get the time freedom that you wanted? What would you say to them?
So the first thing I'd say is if you wait for the perfect opportunity to start, you won't start. And so you got to look for that. One, you got to know your why. If you're not clear on your why, then you're just going to kind of procrastinate. You're going to be kind of paralyzed. You're not really going to be in the mode of taking action. So you got to kind of know, why am I even considering this path? And once you know that, I would just encourage you to take action. Surround yourself with people who have experienced success at the very thing that you're trying to pursue.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And the why thing, I mean, this is why the first hour and a half at my boot camp is goal setting on steroids. And part of that goal setting process is figuring out what your why is, because the why is the driver. The why is going to help you create that burning desire, like Napoleon Hill talks about in his book, Think and Grow Rich. So you actually take action with what you learn. You know, there's a reason my students own upwards of 170, 180,000 doors, is because they take action, because they know their why, and they push through it, because you got to push through fear. You got to push through limiting beliefs. Maybe you're comfortable. You were comfortable in your corporate job for sure.
Yes.
But a comfort zone's a nice warm place, and nothing freaking grows there, right?
Yes.
So, you know, let me ask you this. On your team, you said, of course, your boots on the ground in Atlanta, but are you what hat do you wear more globally on the team? Are you the underwriter? Are you the one that finds the deals? Are you more driven towards the asset management? What piece?
It varies from deal to deal. So like the deal that we just closed in Northwest Arkansas, one of my partners has ties to there. He's been pursuing deals there since 2019, finally got this great asset. My role was much more limited. I'm not the boots on the ground. I'm not going to be flying into Northwest Arkansas.
No. Okay.
Every partner played their role in terms of capital raising.
Money, sure.
Obviously, I've got my investors in the deal, so there's a investor relations piece that I'm going to be handling for anyone that I brought into the deal. Contrast that with my Atlanta deals, where I found the deal. I toured the deal. I underwrote the deal. I had the discussions with the brokers. I developed a relationship with the property management company who we ultimately ended up using for those properties. And then post-closing, because I'm the only boots on the ground there, I naturally take the lead in the weekly calls, the interactions with the property management company. And so the others kind of fall back a little bit in terms of the role they play. We got others.
Are
who
these
do
different partners
components.
in the Arkansas deal? New partner that's in that one, or is the same partner group every time?
I'm blessed to say, because this doesn't always happen, that the partners on my 2 Atlanta deals are the very same core partners on the deal that we closed most recently. And I've also invested passively in one or more of their deals.
Gotcha.
So there's a repeat connection there.
Gotcha.
And
that's great.
If it's not broke, don't.
No, I couldn't agree more. That's a match made in heaven. So one thing I want to tell you guys is, you know, when you're raising money, and I know you do this because we talked about it, Khleif, is yes, you can just do the investor relations, but you have to be more actively involved than just that. You know, like the asset management calls. And I tell people, you know, record the asset management calls, make sure you're actively involved, offering suggestions, you know, things you're not agreeing with, and so on and so forth, because there has to be an active involvement that kind of correlates to the amount of money you've raised and put into this thing and the amount of the GP split that you end up getting. And I know I'm getting kind of in the weeds here, and this is why you need to get your butt to my boot camp, because we go into this deep. I'm going to have Merrill, my attorney there, spend an hour on this, and I'm doing it again here in just an hour when I do my syndication presentation on my masterclass. But there's some nuances. I mean, it's not something you need to worry about, but you need to be very careful that you're not perceived as just raising equity. So I want to throw that out there. So do you think there's a type of person, Khleif, that is better suited to this business than another? Just curious.
I think you got to be a self-starter. This is not a business where you need to be constantly motivated, and someone's got to kind of get you out of bed to get going. You got to be a self-starter.
You got to have discipline. You know, Absolutely. It starts with motivation, but you got to. Motivation only gets you started. Discipline keeps you going, right?
And you got to be resilient. So we talked about the recent challenges.
Oh, and we could probably talk about that literally for 8 hours. The challenges we've had in our career, and yeah. So let me ask you this. I kind of alluded to this. You know, I like to hear about catalysts or epiphanies or aha moments in this business. If I ask you that question, does anything come to mind where you're like, okay, now I freaking get it about anything? I know I didn't prepare you for these, but
yeah. So I would say partnering. So I constantly I'm talking to people who are earlier in their journey about getting into this space, And one of the most important things that you can do is, just like in your romantic life, be very selective about the partner that you choose to get with. Because
have you had any partnership issues?
I've not. Again, I've done
so it's interesting
back-to-back deals.
It's so important to you, because I have. And there's an investor, a woman, an investor in Atlanta that I'm sure you know the name, initials MM. And if you don't, I'll talk about it offline.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, but you know, she was a member of my mastermind at 4,000 or 5,000 doors, and there was another big member of my mastermind, 4,000 or 5,000 doors, and they both split up from very large partnerships. And you know, and so it's interesting that you're talking about that you've never had, and I have had problems with partners as well. It's always a communication breakdown, or you didn't really do your due diligence ahead of time. And by the way, guys, in my link tree, Rod's Links is a list of questions you should ask before you get into partnership. Okay, it's a very valuable tool. It's at Rod's Links. It's one of the free books there, because a partnership, like a marriage, is real easy to get into and very hard to get out of.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
And that's what you were alluding to, and I'm glad you've never had a problem.
Yeah, and one thing I say that I know from my personal life is nothing puts more pressure on a relationship than financial matters.
Of course.
So when you get into these deals, they are all about financial matters.
Right.
And so, you know, whereas in your romantic life, there are other things going on, and the finance piece is one component.
Right.
The finance piece is the biggest component of these deals. And so the blessing of it taking me 2 years to get into the game is that I had an opportunity to really get to know my primary partner.
Yeah, good.
To kind of calibrate his risk tolerance as compared to mine, to really test kind of, you know, it's one thing, the first date, everyone can put forward the best, you know, face and
it's
dress.
Just like when you're dating on your first date.
Yeah.
Boy, they're the most amazing, perceived to be the most amazing person ever. But then you dig in.
Yeah, a few dates later,
right.
You know, are they still on their best behavior?
Things start to crack. You know,
Yes.
I'll tell you, you know, and let me say this, guys, as well. Your brain is so freaking powerful that it picks up on micro nuances that you're not consciously aware of. And a great example is a book called Blink. I think Pressman is the author. And one of the pieces in that book is, like, the most famous art experts in the world can look at a painting and they know it's a fake, but they don't know why it's a fake. So if you meet somebody and something doesn't feel right, trust it. That's your brain picking up on something you're not consciously aware of, but that's how powerful your brain is. Now, women are better at just the men. It's called intuition, right?
Yeah.
But you know, men can hone it. But again, if the gut feels off, trust it. I can't. And this is an ask me how I know. One of my students gave me a shirt that says hashtag ask me how I know, because in my boot camps I'm like, don't do that. Ask me how I know. And so now we give them away. But
Yeah.
This is one of those things, and you've just got to trust your gut. And then you ask all these questions in that book. You know, make sure you use that before you get in a partnership. I'm so glad you brought that up. So what is your favorite part of what you do in commercial real estate? And then I want to ask you, what's the most challenging for you?
It might be the same thing.
That's funny.
So I like the people component.
Yeah, me too.
And there's so many ways that you're impacting people. Obviously, if you're providing housing to someone who needs housing, that's the obvious one. And so if you can walk into a situation and ultimately leave it better than when you found it,
it feels good.
That feels good.
Yeah.
So that's big. The people, you know, everyone is part of the team. So the property manager, I love seeing people grow. If I can contribute to that in any way, I feel like, you know, that's not in the job description, but if I'm able to contribute to someone being a better on-site property manager than when I first connected with them, that's a win for me. Yeah. And so I'm big on how can I contribute to the growth of others.
And coach, yeah, and help them become more. It's a beautiful thing. That's my greatest gift in life. I could show you a wall over in my office in my other building where I have hundreds of thank you cards from students on the wall, literally hundreds. And you know, this isn't ego, but when I tell you I get love every single day from people whose lives have been impacted by my work, it's the greatest gift you could possibly imagine. I get gifts, I get cards, and I get DMs and emails, and You know, that's why I'm addicted to it. That's why
Yeah.
I'm here on a Saturday doing this with you, you
Yeah.
know, right? And, yeah, great answer. So I like to ask this of my super successful people that I interview, like yourself. If you could go back and tell yourself something, I'm sure you've been asked this before, go tell 18-year-old Khleif something, what, if anything, might you do differently?
Yeah, for me, it's just take more risk, but believe in
Good
yourself. And looking back now in hindsight, I realized I didn't need to put in 20 years in corporate America before I made this pivot. I could have 10 years earlier.
It was a comfortable thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, you get to a place, again, well compensated.
Right.
You're in a comfort zone. The direct deposit is hidden every 2 weeks. It's like, if it's not broke, why fix it? And so you've got to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And most people don't want to put their finger closer to the flame. They want to keep it where it's nice and comfortable.
That's
and so you've kind of got to disrupt the status quo to break out of that complacency.
Tony Robbins says the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the amount of discomfort you can stand. And you know, I bought 2,000 houses that I rented long term because it was so freaking easy and that was comfortable for me.
Yeah.
And my biggest regret is not, you know, if I had just been in multifamily in 2008-9, I'd be on the back of a 300-foot yacht right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, you talked about waiting to take risks. You're very analytical. There's no question you wouldn't be. And I love you if you're analytical and you know who you are and you know how you have to check off every single box before you make a move. This is what we're talking about here. Jumping sooner. You don't have to see the whole road. You know, you take, Dr. Martin Luther King said, you take that first step in faith and the next step will be revealed. Yeah. You know, and the analogy that I give on this is you can drive all the way across the United States at night with your headlight only seeing 60 feet in front of you. And you know you can make it. You may have obstacles, but you know other people have done it before you. It's the same way with this multifamily business. But you're not going to see the whole road when you get started. Would you agree with me?
Absolutely.
But you got to take action and make it happen, and you'll learn as you go. And that's very, very hard for analytical people. But I can tell you they're some of the most successful people in this business because this business is primarily empirical, primarily numbers, right? Yeah. You get the numbers right. You ask all the right questions, and success is inevitable. Now, I will tell you this, though. Probably the most successful partnerships I see are the combination of an analytical person with an outgoing person. And
complement each other.
Yeah, they complement each other, absolutely. And this business needs both because you're building relationships. Now, you're a very personable guy. This is why I wanted you here. You know, you're a very personable guy, and you're not an introvert like a lot of analytical people are. Maybe you're introverted at your core. Probably are. You probably get energy from being alone, right?
I need time alone to recharge.
Right.
Yeah.
Me, I need time with people to recharge. So I'm an extrovert, and I thought I was an introvert, you know, from childhood experiences and being embarrassed and stuff like that. But you know, and if you're an introvert and you're analytical, come to my freaking boot camp, number one, because I will, I shouldn't say this, because I will make you get up and meet some people, and it's going to be uncomfortable. But I will tell you, the people that come that are introverted, thank me for it, because, 5 seconds of courage is powerful. But you've worked your way to building those relationships and throughout your career, and all that. You haven't been locked in a room your entire career, right?
So what I will say, so one, you're talking to a recovering corporate lawyer and chief compliance officer. So when you talk about taking risk,
right?
I was in roles where I was counseling people to take the least possible risk.
Right, that too. Wow.
And in my personal life, again, you're in a comfort zone, and why disrupt that?
Sure.
And so I had to kind of overcome that. I had to overcome the limiting beliefs that, you need to pursue a safe and tried and trusted road. Don't venture out there for the unknown.
My dad worked for Continental Airlines for 36 years. And he used to tell me, go get a real job. When I was first starting out in real estate, I'm going to get a pension. You know how much my mom got from a pension until she died last year? $596, or I might have been $697, whatever. I mean, it was nothing. Okay. And here's the other thing. My dad worked for Continental Airlines for 36 years. In fact, I don't know if you remember the Continental planes. They had the golden tail. You could always tell them when they were flying by, even very high. And he used to make us kids put our hands over our heart when one flew by. It was kind of fun, a joke. But he loved that company.
Yeah.
36 years, and he got laid off. So, don't tell me about job. You want job security? It's right here between your freaking ears. It's you going out and doing something for yourself. And I'm going to tell you, opportunity is freaking coming. We are going to have, sorry about the expression, show. I'm just telling you it's coming. And so pick your vehicle. If it's going to be multifamily, get to my boot camp. I think there's going to be opportunity to buy businesses. There's 80 million baby boomers retiring and they have businesses. I think there's going to be great deals there. Single family, other asset classes, stay away from office. I probably say stay away from retail too right now. But are you in any, on that note, are you in any other asset classes besides the hotel and the multi?
Well, I'm also doing some development now.
Talk about that.
Yeah, so I and a partner, we're developing a 90-acre parcel southwest of
that's
Atlanta.
Big.
And it's going to be a culinary-centric community, really innovative. So it'll be mixed use, probably 77 single-family homes, about 40 apartments above about 40,000 square feet of commercial retail.
Wow.
Yeah, so...
Wow. So you're kind of doing like a little themed environment here with the culinary piece.
Exactly.
How are you promoting this is fascinating because I've never heard this before. How are you promoting that culinary component? Is it going to be in the retail?
So it's going to be adjacent to. We're really positioning it as these are parts of the amenity offerings of this community. So we actually are adjacent to Serenbe, Georgia, which is a wellness community. It's been around since about 2005.
Okay.
This is a community about 3,500 people, but has the propensity to grow to 87,000.
Wow.
So it's a rural setting, about 25 minutes from Hartsfield-Jackson, world's busiest airport.
Right, in the world, yeah.
And so we're developing a community there. So that's one development that I'm in.
So, but you said culinary. So because it's funny, I don't know why this showed up in my feed. I was seeing the Villages, which is the retirement community here in Florida, and their incredible business model is they would build the infrastructure first, the town with the restaurants and the shops and the Starbucks and the place where the people have shows every night, and they built the golf cart highways for people to get around, and then they'd build the residential around it, and people clamored. Yeah. So because of that environment, so that's kind of what triggered it in my head with this culinary component.
Yeah.
Are you going to have? So you're leaning on that adjacent business for this piece?
Yeah, the wellness community.
Yeah.
So I think we are complementing that wellness community. So they build themselves as wellness. So hiking, trails. There's 30 miles of hiking trails, and we have hiking trails on
90 acres
on our
land. God, you've got a lot of land.
And so you can go from one to the other. And so they build themselves as wellness. We're building ourselves as culinary because we have these distinct components that we will have. We'll have a chef incubator.
Cool.
Where we will support up and coming executive chefs. We'll also kind of support them in the startup of their own business as they kind of branch off into the broader community. So my partner is the original founder of Atlanta Food and Wine Festival. And so she has that background. This is her baby. I came on board just under a year ago. And it's a phenomenal vision, and I just wanted to be a part of it. I knew I was going to venture into development. Yeah, it's kind of a natural thing to do after you've been doing multifamily acquisitions. Sure. And so I'm learning a ton. I'm drinking from the fire hose, but it's stuff I enjoy, and it gets me juiced up.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Wow. I was going to ask you what's next. That's it, huh?
I'm not in office. Yeah. So I took my beat in with the hotels during COVID, but at least they're bouncing back, and they have a bright future.
Are you in self-storage or mobile home parks or industrial or anything else? Yeah. And I think those are all great asset classes, frankly. Absolutely. I really do. They're resilient. Well, I have really freaking enjoyed this interview with you, my friend, and I probably talked more than I should have. We had so many things that triggered memories and things for me. And guys, if you want to get a hold of him, he's at parkroyalcapital.com. And I've really enjoyed our little bit of time here together, and I hope we can stay in contact because you're just a great guy. I can see that.
Appreciate you having me. This has been great. This is only the second time I've done this in person, and I like the connection that you get. So thanks again. Agreed.
Well, it was my pleasure. You be well. So one other quick thing. We encounter so many people that are frankly frustrated. They're looking in the mirror and they're frustrated that they haven't been able to escape the rat race. They haven't been able to build cash flow to the point where they're able to have financial and time freedom with their families. and maybe they see other people buying real estate and creating, incredible cash flow, and they think, well, it's just scary. Buying apartments is intimidating. And I get it. See, that's why we created our Warrior Mentorship Program. They're our coaching students, and they've had extraordinary results. My students, I've been teaching about 5 years, and they own upwards of 140,000 units now that we know of, right? And we feel like it's just getting going. Now, we're looking to grow this group and really take it to the next level. And honestly believe that the greatest transfer of wealth could be upon us right now with this current economic environment. Everything's going on sale. So we're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework, really like a blueprint or a map, literally step by step. And then they're able to leverage our systems and our incredible network to raise money and equity, to find deals and close those deals and build partnerships, really nationwide. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more in our incredible network and take advantage of the unbelievable opportunities that are upon us, you can apply to my Warrior Mentorship Program by texting the word CRUSH to 72345, or you can go to mentorwithrod.com. And what we'll do is we'll set up a call so you can check us out and we can check you out and see if it's a fit. Now, again, you can go to mentorwithrod.com or text the word CRUSH to 72345 to apply, and we will speak soon.